guys. It's actually afternoon, so I was gonna say good morning. Oh my gosh, it's like 1:15 here. Jeez. I was supposed to start this at like 7:30 or 8, but I had a big day varnishing and resining yesterday, so I think I just needed a break from my garage. But anyways, so this is our, what is this, like 18 by 24, I think, and 18 by 24. This is one of my practice canvases that I simply kind of gesso over every once in a while just to just to keep down the cost of things that I'm practicing. So, for example, clouds. Normally my clouds are more consistent with a kind of wispy across the sky type of thing instead of these larger fluffy clouds because I'm scared of them. But we're going to go ahead and try to change that today. So, this is the picture that I have been sent. This is San Xavier Mission in Tucson, and the person that took this photo, I believe might have photoshopped it to kind of turn the values up a little bit, or turn up the saturation, I mean. Great photo. Asked me to go ahead and see if I could paint it. I said that I would give it a shot, but I wasn't going to charge a commission holding fee or a deposit because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do something like that. I usually work a little bit more abstract than I do realism. So, the first thing that we have done is we have taken our picture and we have kind of, I don't know if you guys can see this very well, the light in here is kind of garbage. So, what I've done is I've laid out my cloud structure with different colored pencils. So, or actually it's not really colored pencils, it's like a charcoal, like a pastel. So what it is these are different values of your same color. So you've got some darker blues, you've got some lighter blues, you've got some darker purples, you've got some lighter purples. So when you're first starting out, this will kind of give you the idea of where to lay down those shades and those values so that it makes it easier to blend them, okay? I also wanted to kind of walk you through some of the wonderful things that you can use to make blending just a little bit easier. First and foremost, and this is pretty much my go-to for any base layer and backscape that I'm just trying to kind of get my colors down on the canvas, this is airbrush medium. This is the Liquitex airbrush medium. I don't even know, to be honest. I think I've looked for Golden's, whatever Golden's product would be that would be similar, and I haven't seen it. So, but what this does is it kind of gives you that washed effect. So, washed effect, yeah. So, so that it's not a completely dark, you know, like if you're laying down a dark Prussian blue, and then you find out that it's like, oh, the colors right above that are supposed to be more of like, I don't know, like a brilliant purple or something. It'll make it easier because it doesn't go on quite as thick, so your paint isn't going to be as heavily pigmented when you use this, but it's going to blend easier and it's going to give you a really good idea of where to start detailing your clouds. The other things that you can use, this is absorbent ground. I don't know if you guys can see that. There you go. Ooh, that makes it. So, this is something I actually got this, I think I got this as a gift or something from someone that didn't know how to use it. And so this is something that you can lay down. It takes a little bit of time, so you don't want to lay down too many coats too frequently. But what this does is this makes your canvas like capable of almost having a watercolor effect. So you can actually put this on anything, and it will help if you have water in your brush or if you're using water media. You are able to kind of create a watercolor effect with acrylics, because this actually helps the water, it helps the binding process or something. I'm not a scientist, I don't know. All I do know is that it does work. It's just it takes a lot of preparation, so it's something that I will do if I end up liking this piece and, yeah, doing a larger piece, or a larger canvas in the same piece. We've got retarders here, so these are, this is your golden retarder, and this is your slow dry blending medium from Liquitex. Okay, so these are just going to slow down your drying time a little bit. You can also use Golden's open acrylics. So these are the open acrylics right here. Okay, so they have a much slower drying time than a normal acrylic or a heavy body. However, that being said, be aware, so I just bought these. Normally I can, even these small tubes, I can pretty much stretch it out for maybe a month or two, because I use a lot of mediums. I use a lot of gloss mediums and glazing liquids and things. But these open mediums, they do not go very far because they're not as highly pigmented. They don't actually, and they don't bind as passionately to the canvas. It's the way that somebody explained it to me. But they also are very helpful for learning how to paint. And I haven't even started painting it, and I've already got paint on my fingers. But probably one of the quickest, easiest, and just all-around kind of mindless tips that I have gotten is from, I can't remember his last name. His name's Ian something, and he's an Australian that does these wonderful YouTube videos, and they're hilarious. Ianapolis, I think, is his YouTube channel name. But he uses fluid acrylics. He uses white fluid acrylics, and when he is doing a sky, that is what he lays down first. This slows. This is a very slow drying paint. You might not be putting slow drying paints on top of that, but it's going to help pull the white out, so if you need to lighten something up a little bit, it's easier for you to do that and blend it out. Okay, so there's that. Brushes. So this brush right here has quickly become one of my favorites. This is a Royal & Langnickel specialty brush. I actually got it in a pack with this one, which is also, this is one of my favorite cloud brushes. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to use it in the same way that I normally use it on a large canvas like this, but it's, I don't even know, because they're specialty brushes, so I don't know what they're called. I think this is just considered a mop, which is what these are, which these are mop brushes, okay? This one's kind of probably at the end of its days, but I've got another one. This is a Martha Stewart brush that I actually picked up. The reason I picked this up is because it looks like a blush brush, and those are my favorite cloud brushes, are my blush brushes. So I don't wear a lot of makeup anymore because I really don't actually have a lot of brushes that I still use for them. I use them for painting. And then you've got, so this is what I was talking about with scumbling. So this is what's called a deerfoot. This is an Artist Loft deerfoot. It's a it looks like a 3/8. And this is great for like that kind of stuff. And so that's what I was telling you about when I was saying I do like a jab and twist or a jab and swirl. I'll like jab it on there, and then I'll start just kind of like swirling it like this. And I love this for that specific purpose. Other cloud brushes. Well, here's my blush brush. So ladies or husbands, men, if you have very supportive wives that have blush brushes, or if you own a blush brush, I don't judge. These are amazing for blending out clouds because the softness of the bristles is something that is really hard to find in paint brushes. So this is one of those that you really want to pay attention to, is kind of every time you get a new blush brush or whatever, bring them out to your studio and give it a whirl, because I'm telling you, when I think my mom told me that to go get my blush brush and try to blend something out, and it is a life-changing experience. So those are some of your basic brushes. So what I wanted to talk to you about is about this particular painting. Before we start mixing any colors, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of try to figure out which brushes would be best to lay down the kind of clouds that we have, right? So if you're doing kind of like the wispy clouds that are almost like kind of streaking through the sky, just a normal painter's brush, this is from Lowe's, will be sufficient, okay? But when you're doing these kind of more fluffier, what are they, serious clouds? Serious clouds. Anyway, you're going to want to kind of go through and say, okay, I'm going to need something a little bit fluffier. I'm going to need to kind of, blend out my edges a little bit more. I'm going to have to kind of, work some of the paint and, what do I call it, like this way, work it together, do paint. Anyways, so we're going to be operating with mostly these brushes right here, okay, or these types of brushes, these mop brushes, blush brushes. You can use one of these smaller painter's brushes and kind of like tap it on. But I find that when I do that, I do too much, and then I miss my blending window. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out my colors, and we're going to get started.